There was so much that fans missed between Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. Avatar: The Last Airbender was an animated show that first started in 2005. It was the Western-made adventures of Aang, the young Avatar, who had been asleep in ice for 100 years. But if you're reading this, I'm sure you are more than familiar with the Avatar setting. Quite frankly, Avatar is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It truly is one of the most well-fleshed out and creative worlds I've ever seen. So, to help fill you in on the later adventures of Team Avatar, here are 10 ridiculous things fans had no idea happened between Avatar and The Legend of Korra. Number 10. Cabbage Man opened a restaurant. The Cabbage Man truly is a classic, almost as iconic as the "My leg" guy from SpongeBob. Cabbage Man makes multiple appearances throughout the entirety of Avatar: The Last Airbender. He apparently has just awful luck, since the Avatar's posse can't help but knock over his precious cabbages time and time again. Well, in Korra, apparently he started a booming car company. But how exactly did he go from cabbages to cars? In the Dark Horse comics, Aang and his friends actually end up in his restaurant, of course, with a fully cabbage-based menu. And later on, in that same story, he becomes fascinated by a passing forklift. Turns out he has much more luck with automobiles than with leafy green veggies. Number 9. Aang destroyed an ancient spirit. Aang just can't get away from those spirits now, can he? Well, he probably shouldn't, since you know he's the bridge between humans and spirits and all. Well, in the rift, Aang found that a territory near Yu Dao had accidentally broken their promise with a spirit named General Old Iron. Hundreds of years ago, they had promised not to build on this land in order to show appreciation to his fellow spirit, Lady Tianhai. But their children didn't know and built a city. Aang couldn't exactly destroy the said city, so he ends up fighting General Old Iron. The fight escalates and Aang ends up ending the spirit, a first for him, and something completely unusually for an avatar to do. Number 8. Aang started a new holiday. After the passing of General Old Iron, Aang is actually visited by the spirit of Lady Tianhai. She lets Aang know that spirits don't pass. They actually just take the form of something new, and that they should still try and build a new promise. Aang, of course, being ever the optimist, creates a new holiday in the town called the Spirits Friendship Festival. It's not much like the custom he was used to 100 years ago, but that's okay. The Rift is actually one of the best ways the series shows Aang adapting to a world 100 years later, in my opinion. Number 7. Zuko and his mom return home together. After striking a deal with the Mother of Faces, Ursa gets both her memories and face back. Of course, there is still the new family she has made with Norin, so Zuko gained another, less psychotic, sister. But after spending some time reconnecting, Zuko decides to bring Ursa and family home to the Fire Lord Palace. It was heartwarming to see Ursa returning to a home Zuko and Aang has secured for her. Ozai is no longer in charge, but Ursa still feels unsafe in what should be her home. Her fears turn out to have some truth to them, however. The new Ozai Society, a group dedicated to bringing Ozai back to power, is about to bring some plans to fruition. Number 6. Mei and Zuko broke up. Zuko and Mei were one of my personal favorite pairings in the original Avatar: The Last Airbender cartoon. They had well-written chemistry and the same sort of downer personality. But Mei, ironically, was the one who ended up needing more from Zuko. After Zuko became Fire Lord, he started keeping more secrets. None that were all that insidious, mind you, but still not good. It eventually led to Mei cutting the cord and going off on her own. She even had her own standalone comic issue, where she found out her father was the leader of the new Ozai Society. In any case, she ends up dating an ex-Ozai member named Kalo for quite a long time. Number 5. Azula pretends to be a spirit. After Zuko and Azula got their mother back, Azula actually went her own way. makes sense since if she went back to the Fire Nation, she would have had to return to prison. But Azula finally recognized that she wouldn't be able to usurp Zuko, that her destiny didn't lie with the Fire Lord crown. So instead, in an incredibly roundabout way, she went through this entire elaborate ruse to slowly make Zuko that kind of ruler she felt he should be. Did she almost start an internal war and pretend to be an ancient spirit? Sure, but at least she's acting a bit more sisterly, right? Number 4, Uncle Iroh opened the Jasmine Dragon. Iroh is the best character in anything. Don't even try to argue with me. Uncle Iroh will always be one of my favorite characters of all time. The true heir to the Fire Nation, after the loss of his son, he began to see the errors of his ways. Iroh in the animated series was always a kind old man who had an almost creepy obsession with tea. It was a touch and go a few times, but we weren't quite sure if he'd make it through the 100-Year War. Thankfully, he does, and actually gets to live out his dream of opening his own tea house, called the Jasmine Dragon. Number 3. The Earthen Fire Refinery was created. The Rift comics take place in a small town outside of Yudao. This town is set up in an area that Aang used to come visit before he became frozen in ice. Back then, it was a completely uninhabited area where air nomads would come and celebrate the last air avatar, Avatar Yang Chen. Now, it's a bustling town with a gigantic refinery at its core. This refinery ends up being run by Toph's father, as well as a bright young man named Satoru. It's the first workplace we've seen where all 4 types of benders are working equally, which is a huge step towards the mostly equal sort of world Empire City takes place in. Number 2, Zuko reconnected in some way with his father. Zuko never had much love for his father. I mean, the man did scar his face permanently and banish him from his home. But still, they're family, and even Zuko realizes he should do his best to come to understand the man. As the now fallen monarch sits in his jail cell, Zuko starts to visit him now and again. Zuko asks for advice on how to be Fire Lord, and they even revisit Zuko's childhood memories from time to time. Now, the entire time, they are quite aggressive to each other, and it's in no way friendly bonding, but still bonding nonetheless. And number 1, you'll be surprised, Iroh invented boba. Iroh is truly a visionary of his time. He is a member of the White Lotus, almost became Fire Lord, taught Zuko how to channel lightning, and is now the proud inventor of boba tea. Of course, boba is quite the odd concoction to anyone trying it for the first time. But I have faith that given time, boba's going to be huge within Avatar. Someone will have to let me know if at any point we can see someone drinking boba in Korra. It'd be a real nice callback to a very minor scene. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to see more awesome videos.